Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is a good day. I got my amp sweatshirt on, the M3s behind me. We're going to be talking about mods. Everything I have done to this car since I bought it about almost 2 years ago now. Obviously the channel's a lot younger than that, so I wanted to kind of explain everything I've done to it, why I went that way, and give you guys my honest opinion. So without further ado, let's start talking about mods. So before we talk about mods, I want to talk about what did this car look like when I first bought it. So when I first bought it, this car was very stock. I guess to describe it to you, you can go on my Instagram, look at photos, or just imagine a silver M3 with amber turn signals all around. Basically what it looked like. But other than it being stock, it did have 3 mods, 3 with an asterisk. It had the Dinan Stage 1 Performance Tune, Eibach Sway Bars, and the manual swap. When I came swapped when I bought it, made sure the reverse lights worked, which they did. So other than that, car was basically stock. I didn't think I was going to modify it, but I driven modded M3s before and this car needed maintenance, so just kind of as I was maintaining it, I modified it and here we are. So without further ado, let's start talking about mods. Cosmetically, I did clear turn signals all around. I'll show you up front in a second. But I think the clear turn signals on the sedans, well, any car really, but silver especially, I think that it looks super good. It gives that nice European look. And then I also did the factory spoiler, kind of a mod. This car didn't have one from the factory, so to this car it's a mod. But I think that it just breaks up the rear end a lot and makes it look just fuller, because I thought it looked a little goofy before without a spoiler. Just my taste, feel free to disagree. So walking up front here, the side markers and the corner lights up here. So it just gives the car a very European look. I think the amber can look good on certain colors. I just don't think that silver is one of them. And then since we're up here, let's talk about these headlights. So I could talk about these headlights for literally 20 minutes. But just to make it short, these headlights are the depot replica of the Bosch ellipsoids. So these were $240 at the time. I think they've gone up since then. Bosch ones are like $550 for a pair. So definitely worth it, but no halos or anything. I kind of prefer the factory look that these have. Honestly, most people don't even know that those are modification. They just assume that that's stock, which is what I love about it. Coming to the inside, we have one of my favorite mods, which is the 3-spoke steering wheel. So all 98, first half of 98 and prior cars come with a 4-spoke. And the 4-spoke doesn't look bad. Some people absolutely hate it. I think it's fine. But I just think that the 3-spoke came in the 98.5 cars and 99 cars really just fill out this interior nicely, especially when paired with the ZHP 5-speed shift knob here. I think that it just really flushes out the interior and makes it look a little more modern, but also the same level of retroness, because I mean, it still looks old, which I just think is really cool. Alright guys, so we're going to move on to the engine here, and these are some of my favorite modifications. First, let's talk about the cold air intake I have up here. So this is the Jim Conforti intake. I really like this cold air intake because it grabs air from the grill, just like the factory air box does via the snorkel. This cold air intake also looks really cool. I like it better than the Dinan one I had before, because the Dinan one kind of got blocked by these headlights, and it was very annoying anytime I had to do anything up here. But the point of a cold air intake is it sounds good, checks that box, and throttle response is really good, also checks that box. So moving on, we have the 540 MAF. I honestly doesn't really do a lot. I think you need to do the intake manifold to get anything out of it. I just kind of wanted to try it for experimental purposes because, I don't know, I just like to mess with things. So that's why I did that. And then the last mod is the RK Tune, which was to eliminate the manual swap CEL 93 octane, because that's what I'm putting in anyway. No one sells 91 in Michigan. And RPM limit, speed limiter, whatever. Just their basic tune. I also got it because when I did the M50 manifold eventually, they give you free updates, and that's really cool. So I figured I'll buy it one out, you know, pay once, have it forever. So that's why I did that. If I ever need to delete O2s, you know, I have the tune, so I can do all that. Then coming around to the back here in kind of a similar way, we have the Rogue Engineering dual tip exhaust. I really like this Catback. I'll play a sound clip for you. Really like this Catback. It sounds good. It's got like the nice level of raspiness that you definitely want, but it's not awful. Drone is, there's a little bit, but that's because this tip here is hitting the rear valence. So that's the majority of my drone, but that's more of a broken car issue than a an issue with the part. Definitely recommended this to anyone who's on a budget because these are not expensive and it sounds very good. All right, so now we're gonna move on to suspension, which is by far, I just cannot tell you how awesome suspension mods in this car makes it drive. So I can definitely tell that it's lowered. So I lowered it on H&R Sport Springs, which funny enough, this is the highest that you can make them. In the rear, I have like a jack pad that you can't even get in the US. It's like some kind of rally package for the 323 only in like some certain European countries. I did that because it was the tallest jack pad that they literally made. I didn't want to stack them, and going with another spring was going to be a massive inconvenience because before, I don't know if you guys remember, but this was tucking a little bit. I wanted it to be flush with the wheel well, which it now is, and I think it looks really good in the rear. And the front ride height, this could also be dropped a lot lower, but I have the ground control camber plate and I have the reinforcement plate because I don't want the strut to go through tower as they tend to do on E36s. So I think that the way the ride height looks right now, it looks really good and it handles awesome. I have a pair of Koni shocks. Totally recommend it to anyone who is looking for something like this. It is a little more expensive than coilovers, but I get the ability to swap out my springs anytime if I want to, and Koni shocks are a lot cheaper to replace than coilovers are. I do want to add one more thing. If I were to do this again, I'd probably go with Eibach springs. The H&R springs, sport springs, are a little bit stiff. They handle really good and not unbearable. They're definitely livable for like daily driving, but Eibach / Dinan, they're the same-ish design. They ride a lot better. They handle similarly. They are higher as well, which would be nice for daily driving. But overall, I'm very happy with the strut setup I have. So with that said, let's talk about bushings now. Okay, so you might notice we have the car jacked up now. I'm going to kind of try to show you underneath what I've done here in the rear. So that dark blue right there, that is a Turner Motorsport race camber arm, or track rather. So that is, I went with that over the street because you get more adjustment, and it has a different style of joint here for the ball joint, which I wanted specifically. And then as far as the bushings go, under here, see, those are AKG 75D diff bushings, and I also have them on the subframe. I don't know if you really see them up there. Really love those. They, in my opinion, drastically help the way the car handled. Obviously, new ball joints and new wheel bearings and everything too back there, so that's going to help a lot. But it definitely tightened up everything when I did that. Can't really show them, but I also have 95A Rtabs and 95A front control arm bushings, also from AKG. Those are black instead of red. Those also greatly help tighten up the car a lot and kind of make it handle how it does. I totally recommend those mods to anyone that's looking to upgrade their suspension. It definitely makes the car handle a lot better. And then I went with the camber arms, and obviously the camber plates are there because when you lower a car, you have to give it a little bit of camber so you have a proper alignment. If you don't, you're technically going to have a little bit of positive camber because if you're just your wheel straight up and down, you lower it and it moves the wheel more positive, so you need the plates to kind of move them back in. So those drastically helped out the way the car handled, and I'm super happy with all the suspension mods I've done. One last thing I want to talk about, which you can now definitely see up here, is the X-Brace. So the X-Brace is factory on convertible models, but you can put them on sedans and coupes and it really tightens them up. I actually noticed a huge difference with the X-Brace. Most people say that is a better mod than a strut tower bar, because I did look at strut tower bars, but all the good ones were super expensive, and all the, I guess, cheaper or more affordable ones were more than one piece, which kind of eliminates the point of the strut bar. I really like the way the Dinan strut bar looks, which I looked into buying just because I think it looks cool, but $350 for something that's not going to help me at all kind of seemed like a waste of money. The X-Brace, however, is totally worth it. I actually, that was one of the first mods I did, and I highly recommend that to anyone because I think that not only helps keep your chassis together, but it definitely help make the car feel a lot tighter up front, less lateral movement in the body of the car itself. And outside of that, obviously the Eibach Sway Bars are still on the car, but that's all there is for suspension. Next, we're going to move into the car, and I'm going to talk about the clutch pedal and the shifter assembly, and then we're done. All right, so we're going to hop back into the car here. Last few things to note. So obviously earlier I pointed out the CHV 5-speed knob. This is paired with a Dinan short throw shifter, which I think has the perfect level of notchiness and has the perfect throw. It's got a nice OEM plus throw. It's definitely longer, but it's shorter than stock, but it's still long enough that it feels factory. I'm not a huge fan of really short shifters. My buddy's car, Connor's car, has the UUC Evo 3 short shifter, and I don't mind it, but I definitely prefer this. And bonus, this was $220, not $400. So definitely a win-win for me. Then I also have the AKG brass clutch pedal bushing, which I definitely recommend anyone does. It's the self-lubricating one. I actually think it's bronze now, but that is definitely nice because I don't know if you watched one of my, I think my first POV in this car when it was really stock, the clutch pedal was squeaking really badly. And that's not cool. This is an M3 after all. Last thing to note about the shifter is I did the detents, which give it that nice crisp shifting, and there's not a lot of playing gear because I also threw in the Turner Motorsport shifter rebuild kit. It's kind of an upgrade. I don't know, but it all feels really good. And then also the clutch delay valve is deleted already. Previous owner did that with the manual swap. So not really much to note there. That's all there is. All right, guys, that concludes the video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing everything I've done to this car. Honestly, it's been a journey. I've learned a lot while modifying this car. I think if I were to do all this all over again, I definitely could have saved myself a lot of time and struggles. If any of you have any questions about any of the mods in this car, steering wheel, suspension, anything, please comment down below. I love answering questions. And thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye-bye.